you see things unfolding in Afghanistan?
Well, that's the most difficult question you asked me. Unfortunately, right now we do not have the answer because no one has the answer. You see, let me just say, the biggest mistake made by the Americans was that they kept on trying to find a military solution in Afghanistan when there was not one. They kept doing the same thing over and over and over again and thought they would get a different result. Because Afghanistan has a history, and they just cannot be dictated from outside. They do not accept outside power intervention. They do not like to be controlled from powers from outside. That's the history. And so even when countries have conquered Afghanistan, like the British did in the 19th century, and then the Soviets invaded Afghanistan in the 20th century. You can invade Afghanistan, but when you stay there, it is very difficult to control the country because they are very independent-minded people. So this war in Afghanistan went on too long. It has created deep divisions in the Afghan society. When a war goes on for that long, when on both sides people have died, families have suffered, to bring them back together is not very easy. It takes time. And now what you're seeing in Afghanistan is that the moment the Americans decided there was no military solution, they gave a date of exit. And the moment they gave a date of exit, the Taliban, who were opposing the Americans, considered that as a victory. Now, when they think they won the war, it's very difficult to make them, from Pakistan point of view, to make them then come to some sort of a political settlement becomes very difficult. One, because the war went on too long, there are deep divisions. Secondly, once they feel they won the war, it's very difficult to make them now get back together. And so the worrying thing for Pakistan is that if Afghanistan has a civil war there, just like it had civil war after the Soviets left in 1989, then the consequences will be, after Afghanistan, the country that will suffer the most is going to be Pakistan. Because, we have a long border with Afghanistan. Taliban is basically a Pashtun movement, and there are more Pashtuns in Pakistan than Afghanistan. Half the Afghanistan population is Pashtun. So the worry here is that we will be deeply affected by if there is a civil war. So therefore, we want there to be a political settlement at all costs.
So before concluding this session, I would like to inform the media that Prime Minister has written a special congratulatory letter to President Xi on CPC's 100 years anniversary. Also, Prime Minister has written an op-ed that will appear in Chinese media. I believe this opinion piece, and also keeping in view the close relationship and the kind of the way CPAC is going, we will interact with Chinese media more regularly, and we will keep inviting friends from Beijing, Shanghai, and also from here. And thank you very much for being part of this session.
Thank you. Especially from the Prime Minister and his office, we want to have a closer liaison. We have probably one of the most deepest, strongest relationship between China and Pakistan. But the interaction between our medias, our cultural interaction is not as good as a political relationship. So this idea, meeting today, is basically to improve this interaction. I especially want to take this occasion to congratulate China and the Communist Party. I think on its 100th, it is the anniversary of the CPC. Also, in Pakistan, we admire President Xi Jinping as one of the great statesmen of the modern world. We have admiration for him in Pakistan for two particular reasons. One, his commitment to fight corruption, the commitment that a society there must be rule of law in a society. In other words, the powerful must be brought under the law. And corruption is, when it destroys a country, it is when there is a corrupt elite which does not bring itself under the rule of law, and they are the ones who do the maximum damage. So I have watched the corruption drive, anti-corruption drive of President Xi Jinping, and we here in Pakistan are very impressed by the way he has so many high-level officials, ministerial-level people have been held accountable for their corruption. Secondly, and the most remarkable thing about China, which we all admire, is that the way they have brought so many millions of people out of poverty. The figure we are told is almost 700 million people have been brought out of poverty in the last 6-7 years. And recently, China announced that China has finally eliminated extreme poverty. So this is, I think, one of the most remarkable achievements of any human society. I don't think there is any precedent in history of a society achieving these great goals. And the third thing is that we in Pakistan are committed to strengthen our relationship with China politically, as well as in terms of economy and trade. CPAC is a flagship program in the BRI, and for Pakistan it is one of a program which gives us the greatest optimism and hope for our future economic development. And we have a high-level committee now to follow the CPAC projects. I'm going to Gwadar next week to oversee the projects, the pace which they are moving on, and to make sure that we meet our timelines. And then I'm hoping,
Chinese labor also.
yes, meeting the Chinese labor, who are working here, and yes, talk to them, interact with them. But also, I look forward to my trip to China, which is in the offing in the next month, 2 months, and to further strengthen both our political ties and our economic ties. Please go ahead.
So, as Your Highness just say, that in 2020, the Communist Party already make a huge success in helping its people eliminate poverty. Also, it helps the country to navigate its people throughout the pandemic while achieve the positive GDP growth. So the CPC is continually using its people-centered policy, so towards its people and towards governing this country. So how do you comment on this people-centered policy, and how do you think is CPC's role in the development of China?
You see, the CPC is a unique model. Until now, we were told that the best way of societies improving themselves is the Western system of democracy. And we were told that that is the best way of progress of a society. But what the CPC has done is that it has brought this alternate model, and they have actually beaten all Western democracies in the way they have brought up merit in the society. You see, what is remarkable, a society succeeds if that society has systems which bring two things forward: meritocracy and accountability. Accountability of the ruling elite, which means a transparent system, which is very important for progress, and secondly, which brings up merit in a society. So until now, the feeling was that democracy is electoral democracy is the best way where you get merit, leadership based on merit and then hold that leadership accountable. But what CPC has done is that without that electoral democracy, it has actually achieved that and much better. What I saw in China when I visited the Communist Party headquarters and when they gave us briefings, their system of sifting talent and then grooming it and bringing it up, for me is probably more remarkable than any democratic electoral democracy does not bring up that sort of meritocracy or can hold people accountable. And third thing is that it's a very flexible system. You know, when they want to change something, that system allows them to bring a change. In our society, for instance in Pakistan, even in Western democracies, it's very difficult to bring change in a system because you're stuck in so many regulations, and democracy straitjackets you. So you cannot always do what is the best for the society because of all the impediments in our system. Whereas I find that in the greatness of the way China has improved so quickly is because they make changes very quickly. They feel that something is not working, they change it. The system allows them to change. And fourthly, of course, the long-term planning. They plan so far ahead. Sometimes in a democracy, you only, I mean in an electoral democracy, you only look for the next 5 years and it contradicts long-term planning.